Hey guys, and welcome to today's video. So today I'm going to show you 5 bad habits you need to break. Okay, so bad habit number 1 is thumb. Okay, so using your thumb up here or having it down here, this is not a good technique for a number of reasons. One, having the thumb up here, there's a give and take on that part. Well, let's talk about having the thumb down here. I notice a lot of people, especially when they're brand new, they'll have their thumb down here and they try to use their palm to help them squeeze the strings down better. You don't want to do that. Number one, by doing this, you're not going to be able to stretch your fingers out like the way you want them to. Okay, so you want to really make sure that you're not putting your thumb down here. Number 2 is that as you start learning other types of chords, you're not going to be able to play them at all. Okay, so you want to make sure that your thumb is sticking straight up like this behind the neck. And now playing over, now I do this, a lot of guitar players do this, and there's like I said, there's a give and take on this. Like sometimes it's okay, and then sometimes it's not. And here are the times when it's really not okay. When you're playing something like, you're playing some kind of lead or something like that, it requires you to really get your fingers out there and reach around the frets. Having your thumb up there is not going to help. Okay, now when I do bends, my thumb just comes right up. And that's because I'm using my thumb to help anchor my hand when I'm doing that bend. All right, but that's one of the few times you do want to use your thumb. Now another time, sometimes people use their thumb like when they play like this D chord, they'll add their thumb up to the low E string to get that low F sharp. It sounds nice. So you can use it in situations like that, and I've even seen people use it when playing bar chords. But I wouldn't recommend doing that because then you're going to have to flip your hand like this at certain points when you're moving around. So you don't want to have too many different hand movements going on when you're playing because it's going to slow you down. So that was bad habit number 1. Bad habit number 2 is your pick hand thumb. Okay, so what I notice people tend to do is they'll use their thumb to pick the strings. And while that seems to make sense, it's actually really not a good habit because 2 reasons. One, you don't get that amount of accuracy that you want from your thumb. If your thumb is held still, you can actually have more power and control by using your wrist. Since your wrist has muscles all going through your forearm, you can actually have more control and speed with that. All right, so make sure when you're picking, don't use your thumb because this, and you'll never build up the same amount of speed that you can build up with your wrist. Okay, so just make sure, keep that thumb stable. You want that thing not moving. All right, that's how you're going to develop more accuracy. If you're moving your thumb around, you're going to lose your accuracy. And if you're doing stuff like that, like these, you're going to want to keep your thumb very still because you want to have that very accurate picking motion. And your thumb won't be able to reach, if you're doing just with your thumb, you won't be able to reach all the strings, right? See, notice I have to turn my wrist in order to reach down there. So just use your wrist for the picking, okay? And I know people will go, well, what about the whole arm? I'll just strum like this. Yeah, your wrist is actually still being used when you're doing that. You're just moving your arm in order to reach all those strings or give it a harder strike. So you're just adding some extra punch to the strum with your arm, but it's really your wrist that's actually doing the work. Okay, so that's number 2. Okay, bad habit number 3. not using your fingertips to push down on the strings, but rather the finger pads. Now, like the first one we talked about with the thumb, there's a give and take on this. Yes, when you play bar chords, you're gonna need to use your pad of your finger, right? The pads, that's this part, right? The fingertip is the very tip. And if you're playing something like now you could cheat, and just kind of lay your finger across. But what's going to happen is because you're using your finger pad and just kind of laying across the fingers, you're going to play that lead part a little bit more sloppy because it's going to allow the other string to ring out. So if you're only using that one fingertip on this string, you have nothing for it to ring out to. When you use your finger pad, you can still kind of hear that one, right? It doesn't sound too good. And there was some other note ringing out in there. So you don't want to use your finger pad unless it's called for, something like a bar chord, okay? Just any kind of barring action. That's fine. But when you're playing something like, right? When you're playing something like that, you don't want to use your finger pads, right? Even though it may seem like it's easier because now you don't have to move your fingers, right? Up and down the strings. See, it doesn't work that way. Okay. Bad habit number 4. Okay, and now this is an interesting one because this is a habit that people will tell you to develop, right? They will tell you to do this, okay? But I look at it as more as a bad habit and a distraction, and I'm going to explain why. So by the way, if you don't agree with this one, go ahead, comment below. But I'm going to give a full explanation to why I don't really agree with doing this, and it's foot tapping. Okay, so now foot tapping, a lot of people will make arguments about it, and I know I'm already getting people hating me already. I don't care, go ahead, but hear me out. So when you're tapping your foot, the whole purpose of tapping your foot is to help you stay in time when you're playing. Okay, but I can do that without tapping my foot and stay in time. Now, people will argue, but what are you using to stay in time? My pick hand. This is already doing the same action that my foot is doing. Now, I know some people have like a nervous twitch, so they'll tap their foot when they're playing, and that's a different thing altogether. That's like a little bit of an uncontrollable action. It's kind of like sticking out your tongue and trying to hold it still. You can't really do it. There's like, you can control your tongue, but not 100%, right? And the same thing, some people have that kind of nervous twitch, so they'll be tapping their foot when they're playing. But when a teacher starts telling you, tap your foot to stay in time, they don't have another solution. And plus, they're not realizing that this is keeping the timing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Even if we're playing in 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And now, the big thing about the foot tapping, why I don't agree with it, is because your attention comes off of what you're doing on the guitar and onto your foot. Okay? Now, like I said, people are going to argue that, but I feel like you want more attention on what you're doing here, and if you can just internalize your rhythm, right? You have it. It's right here. It's been right there the whole time, right? And people will argue this, like I said. It doesn't matter what style of music you're playing. Every style of music is going to be doing this, essentially, okay? So every style of music is going to be doing that in one way or another. You say, well, what about the guy that's playing those jazz chords like... You go, okay, fine. But in actuality, he's not playing by himself anymore, right? Usually when you see people doing stuff like that, they have a band behind them. So you have the drummer that's doing that work for him, or a bassist, or a piano player. If he's playing by himself, that's a bit of a different story, but still, he's internalizing what he's doing. So it doesn't actually matter to tap the foot, right? Because if you're just playing by yourself in your room or whatever, or just kind of jamming along with yourself, then you have your own tempo that you're working on, right? And to take away from that, right, by tapping your foot, it's actually just taking away your attention from what you're playing. Okay, so that's why I don't like the foot tapping. And plus, it's just kind of like overdoing this, right? Like, we're already doing this. Now we're gonna... Yeah, okay. So we don't really need to do all that. All right, so that's a bad habit, but it's a bad habit that people are taught. Okay, so bad habit number 5. All right, you ready for this one? This is the big one. This is the biggest problem I've seen. This is the worst habit I've seen with any student I've ever dealt with in the 20 plus years that I've been teaching guitar. Number 1 bad habit. You ready? Not practicing. Guys got to practice, okay? I know you guys go, I'll do it later. And they go back to their video game, right? Or, I want to play. I want to be awesome like that guy. Like, that's my hero in guitar. But, pick it up. You got to pick it up, okay? So, and not just pick it up and just kind of fiddle around, but really just put your attention, right, on building some skill. Every time you pick up that guitar, you want to focus on building some skill. So if you say something like, okay, today I'm going to learn how to shred. Okay, perfect. Work on that. Okay, find a little lead that you could work on and work on it and get it nice and smooth, right? And sit there and work on it for 20 minutes. 20 minutes, flat out, just working on this one thing. Do it. 20 minutes. And all right, so here's a little tip for that. If you find yourself being one of those people who doesn't pick up the guitar to practice, okay, here are a couple things you can do. First thing is go watch somebody play guitar that is worse than you. And you can find that on YouTube. It's very easy to find that. Just put in crappy guitar players or this guitar player sucks, something like that. Type that on YouTube. You will find people who are worse than you. You go, oh man, I'm better than that guy. All right, and then go find someone that you really like and watch a video of them playing guitar and go, okay, all right. And then grab your guitar and then start playing. Work on getting there, okay? Because look, and the thing is not to make fun of those crappy guitar players, but just to show you that, look, there is a point where you're going to be really bad. And then there's a point where you can get to where you are amazing and you reach the goals that you wanted to reach in your guitar playing. But you're not going to get there if you don't practice. You have to practice. It's that vital. And it's a 7-day-a-week thing. You have to do it every day. Okay? Even if you pick it up for 5 minutes, you're better off practicing for 5 minutes, 7 days a week, than practicing 2 hours, 1 day a week. Even though that 2 hours is a lot more than those 5 minutes every day, you're going to actually make more gains by doing it every day rather than doing that 2 hours, because you're going to spend the rest of the week losing all the skills you developed in those 2 hours. Whereas the 5 minutes is going to at least keep you fresh, keep you going. And it's like with little children, I don't expect a lot of practice from them, especially when they're brand new. If you're brand new to guitar, right, anyone who's brand new, there's not a lot of things you can do on it yet. Right? You go, oh yeah, I know this chord. Yeah, that's all I can do. Okay, do it more. Do more of it. Do something with that chord, right? But, and you go, okay, well, you know what? I did this for 10 minutes. I got nothing else. fine. You practice. Maybe pick it up again later and work on it again. Do something with it. Maybe experiment with it. Right? But you want to always try to do something, right? Now, as you get better and you do develop skills, if you're a guy who can play some songs and you can play like a couple simple leads, right? Then you say, okay, well, I pick it up for a couple minutes. All right, pick it up for a little bit longer. Or if you go, well, I play like every other day. Well, on those other days when you're not playing, pick up the guitar and just hold it in your hand for a minute. Just hold it. Just hold it in your hand. And if that's not enough to make you go, it should. It should make you want to start playing, messing around with it. But if that's not enough, then just hit a note. You know, just get in there, play one note, and just... and then do something with that note. But it's very important. That is the number one worst habit, is just not practicing. Okay, so just make sure to practice every day, even if you pick up the guitar and just make it sound bad. All right, I even challenge you to do that. Go ahead, pick up the guitar and try to make it sound really bad. Okay, at least you be messing around, you practicing. Okay, so 7 days a week, that's what you want to do. All right, guys, so remember, if you like this video, if you found it helpful, make sure you like the video, hit subscribe, and notifications so you can stay updated in all the videos that come out. Thanks for watching.